Hey my little creeps, hi, I'm Bella Laveaux. If you've never been here before, but if you have been here before, then what up though? Today is Makeup and Mystics Day. Yay! Y'all already know what that means. Voodoo Tales of the Bayou. So today, we're going to talk about a crazy bitch by the name of Madame Lalaurie, whose first name happened to be Marie as well, and her middle name was Delphine, but she went by Delphine. But we'll talk about that later. So just know we talk about Madame Lalaurie today. She was a serial killer. But the reason that she's in mystics is because she had this obsession with Greek mythology, but we're going to talk about that later too. If you are not subscribed to this channel, then please make sure that you subscribe. Hit the notification bell below. No, I don't have a specific day that I do this as of yet. But just stay tuned for Voodoo Tales of the Bayou. So today, welcome to Madame Delphine Laularie. Today, I'm going to try a different little foundation situation, but y'all will see what I'm doing when we start the story. But before we start the story, I'm going to shave my mustache because I need to shave my mustache. Quarantine got me not can. Just let my mustache grow out and everything. Delphine. Well, let's call her, we're going to call her Marie for now. No, we're not. We're going to call her Delphine because Delphine sounds like more of a killer name, don't it? Right. Sorry to the Delphines out there if they still have some. So if you're wondering what I'm sipping my Tomei tea. I do have a video that will be coming out on this if it's not up before this video. Just showing you information about this and like how I make it and all that. And right now, during the time of Corona, it's good to be drinking hot liquids. So this is the perfect time to get you a Tomei tumbler and whatnot. All right, so Delphine. Well, Marie Delphine McCarty, which was her maiden name, she was born in New Orleans. Her birthday is March 19th, 1787. So if you do not know why I'm laughing, March 19th is my birthday. Yeah. So anyway, Delphine was born March 19th, 1787, and she was one of 5 children. Her father, his name was Louis Barthélemy de McCarty. You know they had fancy names back then, so just bear with me. Originally, though, his name was Chevalier de McCarty. So his father is the one who brought the family to New Orleans or whatever, and they came from Ireland around 1730, around that time. It was during the French colonial period, so you know how that was going. Of course, slavery was in effect. You're like, girl, why you telling us all this? Just because, you know, we need to know the history of these crazy people. So we're going to get just a little history on her, you know, before we get into the real tea. So her mother's name was Marie. And I remember telling y'all in the Marie Laveaux video, during that time, it was very common to name the daughters of your family Marie. And usually the mother's name was Marie as well. So it was a lot of Maries floating around. Of course, they just had different middle names and last names. Very extravagant middle names and last names. But nonetheless, the first name would be Marie. Both of her parents were prominent in the towns, like European Creole part. And when I say the towns, I mean New Orleans, of course. That part of the community. So she was, you know, she was kind of like a socialite, if that's what you would want to call it. For now, that's what she became as she got older once her family moved in. So one of her uncles actually was the mayor of New Orleans from, oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't her uncle, it was her cousin. Her cousin was the mayor of New Orleans from 1815 to 1820. So, you know what I'm saying? He being the mayor, she was killing people, whatever. So when Delphine and her family brought her over here, she was only 4 years old, basically during the time of like the Haitian Revolution when it came down to slavery. During that time, you know, a lot of people were afraid that their slaves was going to start acting up and being a part of the rebellion or whatever. So that caused a lot of slave owners to get real harsh on their slaves. Now, do I believe that that was a part of Marie's reason for doing it? Nah, because like during that time, she was younger. So maybe her seeing the craziness, because you are a product of your environment, brought on her craziness, or maybe the bitch was just crazy. Who knows? As I was stating, that usually had them be a little more harsh on their slaves because they was nervous that their slaves was gonna cut up, baby, and then everybody was gonna rise up like the Haitians was doing, and it was gonna be a full on riots, revolution, rebellion going on with the slaves. So the slaves master was like, y'all got us fucked up. We about to start beating the shit out y'all even more. And that's gonna be that, right? Out of fucking line. So telling that part really is just to kind of show you where she came from, how she kind of came up. You know what I'm saying? She came up in an era where it was real violent, where people were real violent against their slaves at the time. And that's what she grew up seeing. So I'm not surprised that that's how she started to behave. Like, that's what she was told was right. So I'm really not surprised at all. Now, we're going to move on to Miss Thing getting a little older. And Miss Thing was married 3 times, okay? Sis was not playing at all. Like, a lot of these girls back in the day, baby, they did not play. They said, I need a husband. I'm going to give me a husband by any means necessary. A lot of their husbands was turning up dead. Husbands was dying that had never died before. And that's suspicious too. Real suspicious. But anyway, she was married 3 times. Her first marriage, she had a daughter that she called by the nickname of Borkita. And Miss Thing's husband at the time ended up dying while they were traveling and while she was pregnant. So they was, on the road or on the river, headed somewhere. And once they got to their destination and everything, Mr. Sir, he passed away. Her and her daughter, she had the baby. And her and her daughter ended up coming back to New Orleans. So I'm not gonna dwell too much on her husbands and who they were, cause except for that last one, cause that's where the foolery began. But with his first husband, that's how she got Borkita, which is her first child or whatever. So then after he passed away, as a matter of fact, he didn't die right before she gave birth. He died a few days after she gave birth, but it wasn't. It was just literally like a few days after, and then they came back to New Orleans. Now they say he suddenly died, but I don't know. Sis is very suspect, and I wouldn't be surprised. But I ain't gonna put that on her because that ain't to be proven. So I'ma just let that be. So she married the first husband in 1800. She married the second husband in 1808. But he had passed away in 1804 because Borkita was 4 years old when she married the second husband. So in 1808, she ended up marrying Jean Blanc, and he was a very, very prominent banker. Sis didn't fool with no scrubs. She didn't want no scrubs. A scrub was a guy who couldn't get no love from her. You couldn't be hanging out the passenger side of your best friend's boat trying to holler at her. Miss Thing got married again. He was a lawyer, he was a banker, he was a merchant, and he was a legislator. He was not playing, okay? At that time is when they purchased a house on Royal Street, okay? So just keep that in mind. Royal Street in New Orleans, and the address is 409 Royal Street if you want exact coordinates. Later on, that became known as Villa Blanc, which is her last name at the time, of course. So at that time, she had 4 more daughters, and their names were Marie Louise Marie, Marie Louise Jean, and then Jean Pierre. Now they had other middle names too, but we're not even gonna go out into it. Just know that all of them was named Marie in some type of way, except for the son, and his name was Jean Pierre. And then from there, her husband, he died in 1816, which was about 8 years later. So they were married about 8 years. So these kids came in an 8-year span, and then in 1825, June 25th, exactly, 1825, this girl liked to get married in June because she got married in June and when she married the second man too, when she had all the kids with. So she ended up marrying her third husband. His name was Leonard Louis Nicholas Laularie. So this is where the infamous name Laularie come from. That's why I got to give you all the history. You know what I'm saying? Here he come. Whoo, child. He just went along with whatever, child. Oh, Lord. So Miss Thing at that time, she was like, okay, so I'm about to be a cougar. And she married him, and he was significantly younger than her. I don't know how much younger than her, but he was significantly younger than her. So they bought another property at 1140 Royal Street. sis like that area. That was her thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knew her. She was a socialite. So she wanted to stay in the area that she liked. All right. So this property though, this how you know she was running. She was running shit. She was running him. Because she basically managed that property in her own name with little involvement from the husband. In 1832, she had a 2-story mansion built there at that property, and it was complete with attached slave quarters. So this property has slave quarters attached to it as well. She lived there with the third husband and 2 of her daughters, and then, you know, basically just maintain being in central New Orleans, which was, you know, a good place when you wanted to be in society, when you wanted to be that socialite, when you wanted to be like, oh, you know, such and such had these good parties. We're going to go over here to these good parties. They be having, you know what I'm saying, all the best food. They servants is the shit, you know, that type of thing. So she decided, you know, she wanted to remain in that type of spotlight. That was her thing, which I'm not surprised, because even though Pisces can be introverts, we can be the life of the party too. It just depends on what fish you get in that day. And with this bro, oh Lord, just ain't no telling what you was gonna get. This marriage was showing signs of strain. They was going through it, okay? And you know, sis do not mind getting her another husband. So he had better watch out, because sis don't mind. She don't mind finding her another man, baby. It was coming up on that time. Anyway, was it close to June? It was, because they bought the house in May, I believe. And it was close to June. It was time for her to get another husband. November the 16th, during Scorpio season, where people be full of vendetta, in 1832, she decided to petition the first judicial district court for a separation from bed and board, is what they called it, of her husband or whatever. And she basically claimed that he was treating her in such a manner that she just could not basically stand living there together. But the way that it was worded, technically, is treated her in such a manner as to render their living together unsupportable, whatever that means. And those were claims that her daughters that she had prior to with John Blanc and her son confirmed. Now, the separation between them two did not seem to be permanent. They was toxic, clearly, going back and forth with each other. And he also was helping her with her fuckery. So even though I think she just really wanted to control him. And it just seemed like a control tactic. Like, look, I'm going to leave you. So yeah, you know you want all this. You know you want all this. He was a doctor. I don't know if I mentioned it, but he was a doctor. So this is where he came in handy with the fuckery, because we about to get down to what it really is, okay? With these two clowns. So the reason that the people were saying that the separation didn't seem to be permanent is because when the house caught on fire, which is what exposed them in their behavior, he was at the residence. But that's because he was helping with the foolery. So even if they wasn't still together, he was there helping with the foolery. He was a doctor and he was able to achieve what she really liked. So yeah, let's talk about that there. So the way that it was described is basically like these things was happening between like a 3 to 4 year span between 1831 and 1834. So the stories are really, really mixed up on how she actually was treating the slaves. But there is accounts, there's books written as well, stating on how she was treating her slaves and some of the things that were seen. And it was horrendous, okay? It was horrendous. Now, if you want to get like a short synopsis on this, aside from me telling this story in short form, you can watch American Horror Story Coven, and Kathy Bates actually plays LaLaurie in that. And it's so funny because they actually mix her and Marie Laveaux's lives together, like they cross paths, which could have very well happened because LaLaurie was born a little bit, well, probably about 20 years before Marie Laveaux, but they could have very well crossed paths in real life, you know, so it was pretty cool that they put that together. But like I said, the stories was mixed, okay? So there's a lady named Harriet Martineau who was writing. She was told about a resident during that time, around 1830, during her 1836 visit, that LaLaurie slaves were seen to be like wretched, is the word they use, wretched, you know, the old school way to say ratchet. They were haggard, which they were just not put together or kept together at all. They just looked like they were being mistreated. Now, out in the streets, though, Miss Thing will go out and pretend as though she was the best slave keeper and that she was making sure that they were taken care of and in the best health and etc., etc. But that clearly wasn't the case because a lot was going on behind closed doors that were soon to be revealed about Miss Thing there. So whenever the story started getting out of control and it was getting around town a lot, a lawyer was dispatched to her house to go and check and see what was going on. So of course, when he went, he found no evidence of wrongdoing, or so he reported, because we don't know who else she had in her pocket. I mean, she was a socialite, but there was no reportings of wrongdoings of the slaves coming from Madame Lalaurie. And in the slave quarters, a lot of other people were stating that that's not the case, though. So one girl ended up ending her life. She jumped off of a rail, and it's to be said that she jumped off of the rail to save herself from a beating. She would rather have died than get the beatings that Lalaurie was giving to the slaves because it was just that bad. Sis rather kill herself than to keep getting the punishment that she was going to get. So how it happened is that she was combing Laulaurie's hair, brushing her hair. She hit a tangle. She hit the tangle, and Delphine was like, you got me messed up and I'm about to get loose. And literally the girl decided that she would just kill herself. And it's not all the way to be said if she actually just purposely jumped off or if Lalaurie chasing her is what caused her to just try to escape her and then jump. But the girl was only 12 years old. That is very sad. She was a 12-year-old girl. Her name was Leah. And she fell off and she ended up dying from falling so far off of the roof. And it's sad. She was trying to avoid the punishment and the baby literally fell off the roof. Sad situation. So what happened is that instead of any of that being reported, they just buried the girl on the mansion grounds, and she wasn't the only one. On April the 10th, 1834, a fire broke out in the Lalaurie mansion. So during a fire sign season, so I'm not, probably one of them slaves she had hurt was an Aries, and they conjured up something with their little fire sign self and brought that fire right onto their house. The fire broke out. It started in the kitchen. So when the police and the fire marshals got there, they found the cook, a 70-year-old woman that had been chained to the stove. Now, why was this woman chained to the stove? I'm not understanding. Chained to the stove by her ankle. So it was later said that she had set the fire as a suicide attempt because she really just feared being punished for doing something fucked up, and she was just over the anxiety and just feeling like something might happen to you every day. I probably would have asked myself too. It's just too much. So when the slaves would be taken to the uppermost room, which would be the top room of the house, it was said that they wouldn't come back. And old girl was like, I just can't. I can't do this. So she ended up trying to kill herself by setting the fire. During the fire, this is where the suspicion came in and everything got found out. So during the fire, April 10th, 1834 is when the fire broke out in the kitchen. But as reported in the New Orleans Bee on April the 11th, bystanders responding to the fire attempted to enter the slave quarters, just to ensure that everyone had been evacuated. At that time, they knew something was up because the Lalauries, they decided that they was going to refuse giving up the keys. And that was by both of the Lalauries. They was like, nope. We not giving you no keys to no slave quarters. Is you crazy? So by them not doing that, that's when, the people what is going on? So one of the bystanders broke down the room door, and that's when, baby, she got real up in there. So 7 slaves were horribly mutilated, okay? So remember when I was saying he was a doctor, and she had some other shit with her too. Okay, pay attention. So she was obsessed with Greek mythology, right? Half man, half horse, the crab man, and all that stuff. What she would do is she would mutilate the slaves and she would make them into those characters. And her fool of a husband doctor would help her do it in order to keep them alive. So it's like he knew how to do the surgical procedures enough to where they would stay alive for a little while so she can have these pets. Like, girl, what? What you say? Was also fine. That's not the only thing though. That's when she started getting extreme. Like those are things that she would attempt. Of course they would die, but that's the thing she would attempt. Now there would be some that would not, and not for a while. Those were the ones who had their mouths sewn together. Those were the ones that you found like mutilated and like hanging, you know what I'm saying, by body parts, random body parts. Like she would do stuff like widen their buttholes. What? Girl, like this is a nervous laugh. This not like me laughing at the people. This is a nervous laugh because I'm really creeped out. Why would you do that? She would do stuff like mutilate their booty holes, like open them real big. This is so graphic for me to say that, but that's what it was. Some of them had their limbs torn from one side to the other. So like they might have their right arm connected and stretched to their left leg and sewn together, or their arm wrapped around their neck and sewn to their chest. Like, just weird, bro. Just doing unnecessarily weird stuff. I don't know how long I've been out of focus, but yeah. And I know I'm taking forever on this because I'm actually going to speed through some of this because I got to work on doing my makeup and talking because I'm not good at this at all, as you can see. Okay, so yeah, I had to fast forward through it and do some of my stuff because we'll be here all day playing with me and my uncoordinated self. As I was stating, some of the slaves that were in there that were actually still alive, that was like just mangled. Well, not just, because that's a lot, but that was mangled or whatever, that was still alive. They reported that they had been down there for months. So can you imagine just like going through that type of torture for months where your limbs and extremities are sewn to another part of your body that's like not in the right spot? What the hell? Among some of the people who actually came into her establishment or whatever was a judge, and he reported some things. He basically said that among some of the people was a negress. That's what they be liking to call the black ladies back then. And I want to say maybe if you was a negress, you might have been a little older, like that was a way to respect you, I guess. I don't know. But they found her, she was wearing an iron collar around her neck. And then there was another old Negro woman who received a very, very deep wound, like on her head. Like, and she was she was too weak to be able to talk or whatever. At the time, when he asked the husband about the slave, he was basically told, like, some people need to mind their own business. Like, you need to mind the business that pay you. That's basically what he told him. Stop meddling in other people's business, like the Scooby-Doo people. Stop meddling, you meddling kids. The man was just like, oh, okay, I guess. Now, some people didn't want to believe it because it had been known that LaLaurie had freed a couple of her slaves, but why wouldn't she not? Because that's a good way to get a cover up, because at the time, the story was floating around. So why wouldn't she? You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, she had some slaves that looked really good. Yeah, and it was the ones who was the house servants. Everybody else was her little play toys for her to mutilate and do stuff too. So, of course. So I seen my drag queen cousin do this technique. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try it out this way because I already love to blend my foundation on top of everything after I finish anyway. So it's like, why not go ahead and put it under so I don't have to use so much product because I don't like my face to be cakey. If y'all want to know why I haven't really been using sponges, it's because that shit shoot them up. It sounds like I'm talking about a puppy and I'm talking about my child, but that's what he likes to do. Oh, this might be a catastrophe. I'm looking, I don't know. So basically when the discovery of the slaves like started spreading around town, getting around, getting known and everything. Baby, an angry mob of local citizens came to Laularie's residence and they basically attacked and destroyed, and they was really not playing. Like, they came and they destroyed everything basically that they could touch. They was like, okay, so since you want to do this to the slaves and it's not how we roll around here, you know what I'm saying? Whether they had slaves or not, they didn't appreciate that type of stuff going on within the community. So at that time, the sheriff and his officers, they was called out, but by the time the mob had left already, the mob was like, we out of this piece. Like, they did what they was gonna do, and then they was out. That time, the property had a lot of damage. Like, it had sustained a whole lot of damage. They basically did what they set out to do. And I ain't mad at them. That's exactly what they should have did. Nothing really was remaining but the walls. Like, these people was not playing no games. Do you hear me? Well, they literally left sis and her family the walls. Okay? Now, the thing about it is that with the family, I'm not going to say that the daughters were fully into this. It doesn't state much about if anybody else was, but I know that her daughters would get beat because they would try to feed the slaves, especially the ones that were like chained to the stove or chained inside to where they could get to them. And she would beat them if they got caught trying to feed the slaves. So I honestly think that they was kind of, at her disposal. They really couldn't do much. They really couldn't do much to save them. They, you know what I'm saying? They wasn't with the foolishness with her. Y'all, if I look white in this camera, trust me, it's just the lighting. This is what I normally use, okay? Don't be alarmed. I know we talking about killers, but I'm not trying to be casket sharp. So they took the slaves to a local jail. They were placed there for public viewing. Now that, I do not understand. Y'all supposedly came to rescue the people from the hands of the evil LaLaurie and do something about it, and y'all put them on public display to be shown how she was. Supposedly, it was to bring awareness to what she done, because of course she was going to have to go to trial, and we all knew, that they all knew that she was, she was kind of that bitch, around there. So they put the people on public display. So the Bee reported that by April 12th of that year, literally, which was like 2 days after the fire, 4,000 people had attended to view the slaves. And it was to convince themselves of the sufferings of the slaves. Like, we're gonna convince ourselves that they was really, she really did this. We got to convince ourselves by coming to see that this is what was really going on here. That's how you needed proof, I guess. That's how you needed proof, but jeez. So another reporter, the Pittsfield Sun, advertised a few weeks after the evacuation that 2 of the slaves that they found in the quarters had actually passed away. Rest in peace to them. And that since they had been digging around the mansion and doing like investigation, that they found other like dead bodies that had been buried in the yard. Whew, Lord. And as well as condemned in the well, it was like in the grounds of the mansion. So like it's just weird. Like, oh gosh, she was really, really weird. And that husband who was helping her, he wasn't no better. How you come to your husband and say, hey, I would love if you as a doctor can help me mutilate these people and help them stay alive long enough so I can see them be these creatures that I like. What in the world? Do you ask them this after sex? Do you, how do you convince one to do such a thing of that sort? I could barely convince one to make me a sandwich. Like, how you convince him to do that? Now, supposedly, some of the bodies that were unearthed, actually one of them was said to be Leah, who they found, which was the little girl who fell off the roof of the building that I was talking about earlier. Well, at least that baby body could be put to rest, because that was horrific. So it's to be known that like her life after 1834, because let me tell you what sister did. Sister girl decided to escape because Miss Thing knew she was about to most likely go under fire, and I guess she just wasn't sure, and she wasn't going to take chances of if her, whatever you want to call it, if her pool was gonna keep her, you know, out of hot water. So she decided to just go ahead and make her exit, which is what she should have definitely done. Well, I'm not gonna say make her exit to get away from the justice, but she needed to make her exit some kind of way. Like, she didn't need to be, no, like, So after 1834, like I said, it's really not well documented. She fled New Orleans during the mob violence that followed the fire. So she didn't even, like, she was, to me, she dead giveaway. Like, you took off. You didn't even try to prove your innocence because you knew there was none. At that point, she took a coach to Mobile, Alabama, and then sis got to Paris. So I'm sure she took her little boat on to Paris. I mean, she had money. She could do that. So by the time the mansion got visited in 1836, like, it was still unoccupied. Martineau, the lady who was writing everything, she was the one who actually visited. And it still had, like, the walls that was bust down, empty walls, windows, whatever, was all messed up. Who really cares about that mansion? Fuck that mansion. So Lalaurie basically went over to Paris. And like I said, it wasn't well documented, but from what I was able to get, she was over there with her mama. Her regular ass mama decided to go ahead and keep her over there. So the son in 1842, he wrote like that Delphine was thinking about returning back to New Orleans, and they pretty much convinced her not to. I honestly think they convinced her not to because they didn't like her. Like, they didn't want her there anyway. He was like,
please don't come back over here, sis. Like, stay over there. We don't want you. Them people don't want you here. They gonna kill you.
So by her children just kind of expressing that they did not want her to come back, it basically got her to cancel her plans, or so we think, because the circumstances around her death are really unclear. And the reason that is said is because in 1888, George Washington Cable recounted a very popular unsustained story that Lalaurie had died in France in a boar hunting accident, right? So she was out there hunting pigs like herself. Supposedly that's how she died, right? But in the late 1930s, Eugene Bax, who was the sexton at the St. Louis Cemetery No. 1, which is also the same cemetery that Marie Laveaux was buried in. So Marie Delphine is said to be buried there because in 1924 he discovered an old and cracked copper plate in alley 4 of the cemetery. So he found a plate that was in French, but it translated to Madame Lalaurie, born Marie Delphine McCarty, died in Paris December 7th, 1842 at the age of, and it just had like a 6. So according to the French archives of Paris, it states that she actually died on December the 7th, 1849, and she was the age of, this is very bright, she was the age of 62 at the time. Now, assuming that, I guess, her body was transported back because she has a, you know, a cemetery, or they just gave her a plot, you know, because she was well known, so they just gave her a plot in New Orleans. Like, those could be one of the two things that, yeah, I really wanted to use this kilowatt highlighter because I got it in my premium box. I don't know, I don't think it looks real good with this look. Lalaurie died at 62 years old. So of course in folklore there is a lot of additional things added that, you know, people had their eyes gouged out, blah blah blah. But I mean, we didn't even really need folklore for that because what was fine was bad enough. Like, you know, they make it seem like, oh, the folklore is making it worse. No. To me, whatever the true accounts are said to be, they seem bad enough. Sis don't need no help. She don't need nobody to be lying for her. So, you know, of course, we don't know if those accounts are false or not anyway. Whether they are real or false, what she did do was more than enough. She definitely earned her serial killer stripe, because that was a lie. You know, I think sometimes when people think serial killer, they just think somebody going out bludgeoning people to death and, you know, it's multiple people, blah blah. No, but she was a serial killer because you kept trying to mutilate people. You did it repeatedly. Serial killer. Yeah, so that is my story on Lalaurie. And I know this video is probably going to be really long because they always are, because I am terrible at multitasking. But I'm trying, y'all. I'm really trying. I just hope y'all like them. I mean, I guess let me know if you like them by commenting down below. Also, liking the video, you know what I'm saying? Like, that lets your girl know as well. Also, I mean, the comments are a big deal because I see that these don't get watched a lot as of right now. Like, I don't get a lot of views on these as of right now, but that doesn't mean anything to me because I like to do them. But I don't want to put out content that is not, that you guys aren't feeling though, you know what I'm saying? So I still want to know if you like it or not. I still care. So I got sent these Shout Out Loud lipsticks by NYX. You know, I normally don't be wearing lipstick around this time. Like, I just really been on the gloss because it's easy. But I wanted to try these out. So thank you, NYX, for sending me y'all new Shout Out Loud lipsticks. They are also on their page, if I'm not mistaken. Girl, you could look like a clown with red lipstick because, baby, it get messy real fast. But I wiped my teeth today, and girl, it's got it looking real cute. Real cute. So yes, I hope that y'all enjoy these stories. Like, seriously, tell me what you think about LaLaurie down below. Have you heard of her before? What would be somebody maybe that y'all want me to talk about? Right now, like I said, I'm starting off kind of like with the voodoo tales or with things that are based in Louisiana specifically. But if you're interested in anything, just let me know. You know what I'm saying? That has to do with like the mystics or voodoo or scary stories or, you know, things of that sort. And I got you. I got you. I love doing the research on it because it gives me time to read. You know what I'm saying? So thank you guys so very much for watching. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to comment. Please don't forget to subscribe. Please don't forget to like. You know what I'm saying? Don't forget to also follow me on Instagram so you can keep up on what I got going on in between time. In the meantime, if you're interested in what I did, like with whitening my teeth and everything, that's also updated on my Instagram. But I will be putting out a video with that as well, showing you the process and whatnot. And I love y'all. I really do. Thank you so much for being supportive of my mystics and makeup voodoo tales of the Bayou. I love you all, and I will talk to you later. Oh.